Hari Om to all the Atma Jyotis, divine light of the self. Let us continue with the contemplation of Ishavasya Upanishad presented by the Ashtavakra Jnana Sindhu group. Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we saw the first introductory Shanti mantra of the Ishavasya Upanishad. Now today what we will do is, we shall go to the second presentation of this series. This is the first mantra, verse number 1 of Ishavasya. And this portion is titled From Plurality to Totality. From Plurality to Totality. Let us see what the first mantra is all about. Om Ishavasya idam sarvam yat kimchad jagatyāṁ jagat tena tyaktena bhuñjitha ma gṛdhaḥ kasyasvid dhanam. Now this is a very, very famous line. The first line of this mantra is very famous. Ishavasya idam sarvam yat kimcha jagatyāṁ jagat. It is said that Mahatma Gandhi, he said, if all the scriptures, entire scriptures of Sanatana Dharma are destroyed, and only this one sentence remains, Ishavasya idam sarvam, that is enough for one to do manana, contemplation, and get liberated. So this shloka means all this, whatsoever moves in the world, should be pervaded or covered by the Lord. Thus detached, enjoy, protect yourself. Do not covet anybody's wealth. For whose is this wealth? So as it applies to all the mantras of all the Upanishads, and especially this Ishavasya Upanishad, it's a very cryptic mantra, very cryptic, because it's very hard, just by reading the meaning, it's very hard to decipher what is being said. So, Ishavasyam idam sarvam. Ishavasyam means, may you cover. Vasyam means to clothe, to cover, to pervade. May you clothe or pervade or cover everything. Yatkincha jagatyāṁ jagat. Whatever world you see in the world, very strange way of putting it. Whatever world you see in the world, you cover everything with Isha or God or Bhagavan or Paramatma. Ishavasyam, it is a commandment. It is an instruction for the seeker. It is not saying Ishavasam. It is not saying God is everywhere. It is saying you, in your understanding, you should pervade the entire world with God. In your understanding. Whatever I see, moving, unmoving, everything that I see in the world, I should clothe it. I should see it as God. Ishavasya idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyāṁ jagat tena tyaktena bhuñjitha. And renouncing that, enjoy. Ma gṛdhaḥ kasyasvid dhanam. Do not covet anybody's wealth. So, what do I see in the world generally as of now? What do I see in the world? I see a lot of suffering. I see wars. I see destruction. I see sorrow. I see droughts. I see floods. I see cruelty. Everything is, whatever I can see, if you read the headlines or on the TV or in the newspaper, it's all very depressing, negative news. Such a world, the Shruti says, look at it as God. How is it possible? Because in my understanding, God is perfect. God is pure. God is untainted. God is karunamaya. God is full of compassion. He is impartial. Everything. If that is God, what is this world? It's exactly the opposite. Totally imperfect in all manners that I can think of. Such a world, how can I see as perfect? How can I see as Purnam, infinite, whole, pure? How can I see it? I myself, if I'm as part of the world, I'm imperfect. That is, as long as we go on thinking on these lines, we will never be able to understand or implement the instruction given in this Shruti. Why? What is the mistake that we are doing? The mistake is, I look at myself as a body-mind entity who's operating in this world independently of my own volition. That is the basic mistake. Because all the Shastras and the Bhagavad Gita says, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that there are two prakritis, para prakriti and apara prakriti. This body-mind complex that I think is myself, is all about me, is only this, is the apara prakriti, is the lower nature of Bhagavan. Whereas, and we have also seen that Jivatma is none other than Paramatma. At what level? Definitely not at the body-mind intellect level. Jivatma can be equal to Paramatma only as the higher self. The higher self of all beings is Paramatma himself or itself. Thus, when we shift the identification with the body-mind intellect to the higher self, then only it makes sense. When I look at the world at my level, at the body-mind level, I can only see this imperfect BMI can see only the imperfectness in the jagat also, in the other person also. But if I start looking at the world as the jagat with the perspective of the higher self, then I'll be able to see only the higher self, only consciousness in the jagat, in all the jivas, in all the beings around me. That is the crux of that is the only way to look at the world as Ishvara, as God. Right? So I can see Ishan in others only if I see myself as Isha. So I start with myself. I start changing my own vision. And I start identifying with my higher self as often as possible through the day. Remember, at the transactional level, yes, I am the BMI. But when I'm alone, when I'm contemplating on the meaning of the mantra of this mantra, I identify with my higher self and I relate to the world also as the higher self. And when this becomes a habit, then one can operate as the higher self all the time, is what the Mahatmas tell us, is what the Shruti tell us. So there's more to me than my body and my mind. I am my higher self. I am Paramatma itself. So what happens with this vision? The sentence continues, Ishavasya idaṁ sarvam. When I pervade the entire universe with God, because I have identified myself with my higher self, because I am looking at consciousness as consciousness, yat kincha jagatyāṁ jagat, whatever jagat I see in this jagat, tena tyaktena bhuñjitha. Now this sentence, tena tyaktena, tena means that, tyaktena, renouncing that. Now what should be renounced? Again, it's cryptic. The mantra per se doesn't reveal what is this tena, what is it to be renounced. So the Bhashyakaras, the Sadguru tells us that what you have to renounce is this ignorance itself, this wrong identification itself, that has to be renounced. Renounce your identification with the body-mind as the little helpless jiva. Identify with the Paramatma So, tena tyaktena, renouncing this wrong notion, bhuñjitha. Bhuñjitha means you can enjoy. Enjoy what? The same jagat. Jagat will not change. Only the perspective has changed. Only my understanding has changed. My identification has changed. So, from that high perspective, one can enjoy the world, like just as how one enjoys a dream or how one enjoys a movie. I laugh and cry with the hero and the heroine, and I get angry at the villain. But knowing fully well that it's a mere projection, it's just happening, it's a leela of Ishvara. So, tena tyaktena bhuñjitha. That's why a yogi is also called a mahabhogi. Even a horror movie, we can appreciate the aesthetics of the horror movie. We appreciate the director, the actors, the settings. There's something to be something to appreciate even in the worst sort of disaster. So tena tyaktena bhuñjitaha ma gṛdhaḥ kasyasvid dhanam. Do not covet anybody's wealth. Once I identify with everybody, when I can see my own self in everybody, everything is me. My worst neighbor is me. All my relatives are myself alone. Everything, even the trees, the plants, the trees, the wealth, anything, everything that's beautiful, everything is myself alone. So why will I run behind it? Why will I covet anybody's wealth? Because everything is mine. That is the luxury one finds with identifying with the totality. So this is about from plurality to totality. This mantra is all about, it is a beautiful mantra given for nididhyasana. Nididhyasana. What should we do in nididhyasana? We have to contemplate on the beautiful meaning of the shloka. In practical terms, I have to concentrate, identify with my consciousness, fix the attention on consciousness, and in others also I can see consciousness. When I do that, the imperfection of the world will not bother me. It will not distract me from my higher vision. It will not distract me. So changing this vision, let us do nididhyasana on this beautiful mantra until we meet next time for the verse number 2, the second mantra of Ishavasya Upanishad. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityormam amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.